Hi, I'm Katisha Terry, and today I'm going to talk to you about why diverse cultures require effective strategies in the classroom. Cultural diversity and educators equals important in today's classroom settings. Cultural diversity does not mean race, it involves various elements. Cultural diversity and awareness in the classroom has positive outcomes for the teachers, for the school, and for the community, and globally for the economy. There's no better time than now to embrace the benefits of being an educator who embraces cultural diversity in the classroom. So, as I mentioned, why is it important for teachers to be culturally diverse and aware? It's because usually diversity means or equals race for the average person. But for an educator, we have to be aware of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, social economic status, being able-bodied or having students with disabilities, and various learning styles as it relates to our students. When we talk about the positive outcomes or what the benefit is for a teacher who is culturally diverse and aware, we want our students to be better prepared for a global economy. We want to build confidence for them later in life. We want to promote empathy, reducing prejudice. We want to improve our students' achievement, and we want to foster creativity because when students are working with other people, they grow. As an educator, when you're working with diverse backgrounds or working with students who come from various backgrounds, you grow. So, how do we foster awareness and sensitivity? Well, we have to express interest ourselves in diversity. We have to remain sensitive to the differences of not only ourselves as the educators, but as being aware of the students who come into our classrooms, of the families that come into our classrooms, and what they can bring to the classroom setting. And then we have to maintain a high expectation for all of our students, not just some of our students. We have to make sure that they are all equally being educated on the same levels. And then we want to be able to trace a and celebrate a inclusive curriculum. And so we have to make sure that we are choosing a curriculum that is beneficial to not only ourselves, but the growth and development of our students. And so cultural diversity plus the educator becomes so important for us to start to walk into classrooms that express diversity as if it matters. How do we accomplish cultural diversity? As mentioned in the previous slide, it is important for our educators to build and support every opportunity you can to make sure that your students are getting the best that they can out of their teachers. And so you have to get to know your students. Once you know your students and who they are, and what communities they come from and the families that they're associated with, then it makes it a lot easier for a teacher, an educator, a principal, a school environment to begin to build cultural diversity within the school. And then you have to communicate consistently. And you have to communicate according to what the needs of the students are. If you have Spanish speaking students in your classroom, or first gen students in your classroom, it is not okay for you to consistently send that household information that their families may not understand. So, communicating consistently is very important, and being careful of how you communicate to the families, being aware. And then you have to acknowledge and respect each student and what they bring into the classroom culturally, being aware of, their religious beliefs or being aware of their cultural um, family dynamics. So we have to make sure that we are being appropriate when we are working with our students. And then you need to give your students freedom and flexibility. It's important for them. If I don't know English and you are working with me, then I need to make sure that I take the time to make sure that you as a student acknowledge and recognize and understand what I'm teaching you. And so you have to be careful to make sure that those students are getting what they need. And so we want to make sure that we have give the students freedom and flexibility to learn what they need to learn, um, maybe sometimes at their own pace. And then be aware of our own implicit biases. If you yourself are not aware of some of the biases that you have and you bring to the classroom, you probably are not aware of the things that you're doing. And so there's always an opportunity for growth when educators are doing specific trainings and development that focus on implicit biases, that looks at the things that you um, unconsciously bring into the classroom. And so when you're working with students, you must be aware of your own implicit biases and then, work on them, work with them. Students are very forgiving. And so when you are in a situation where you do something and the student is upset, you need to make sure that you apologize because that is creating a safe environment for those students as well as letting them know that you acknowledge that you've made a mistake. And so, in order for us to accomplish cultural diversity in the classroom, we want to know our students, we want to communicate to them a consistent message, we want to acknowledge and respect them, give them freedom and flexibility, and then be aware of our own implicit biases. So we're going to start talking about strategies and activities that build diversity. But let's first talk about what's important for school environments is to make sure that they hire diversely. What that means is that you should have teaching staff that looks like the children you serve. When you don't have teaching staff that looks like the children you serve, it makes it very difficult for that learning flexibility, that ability to incorporate the diversity of your children into your lesson plans, right? And so it's always great to see school districts or school buildings that are offering professional development opportunities for their staff around diversity. It's okay to acknowledge when there's issues of unfairness, when there's issues of race, when there's issues that may be happening in the community that you are aware. So you just can't be in the world of a classroom and not know what's going on outside in the community that your students come from. You want to partner with a teacher who has a different background than you. That is an amazing opportunity for you to build different activities because that person's view may be different from yours. And it's nothing wrong with partnering with another teacher to build your classroom capacity for diversity. Do a community walk, conduct a school community walk. Walk around your building, see and listen to what the kids are experiencing. Listen to what they're talking about when they come into the school. Children as young as 3 and 4 in preschools are able to communicate what's going on in their environments, especially in their home environments. So if you are in a preschool setting, an early childhood setting, you know you have to do classroom observations, but you also have to do home visits. And when you do a home visit, it's okay to have your eyes wide open. It's okay to have your ears wide open so you can listen to the needs of the families. And so when you're doing a community walk or a school walk, I've also seen, school districts that allow their teachers for professional developments before the students come to get on the bus, especially when they're new educators, and drive around the neighborhood to see what the neighborhoods are like. And this can be done in both urban areas and rural areas because when you understand where the children are coming from, it allows you to consistently be a part of their development. And then reevaluate your teaching materials. I love this picture of the books. And you can see that this teacher has done a fabulous job of incorporating a diverse group of authors for the students. I know that this teacher has Spanish speaking students. I know that this teacher has African American students. I know that this teacher has students who are Arabic or who are Muslim faith. I know that this teacher has a Hispanic speaking children. And so you can look at her book shelf and see that she is really incorporating a diverse choice for her students. And they're reading things and reading authors that look like them. And so Those are the beautiful things about starting to develop strategies and activities for building diversity. Okay, so when you're building resources for your classroom activities, it is so important to have access to resources that are unique, resources that are diverse enough for your students to have a whole new world in each activity that you do. So if you're creating curriculum, if you are a person who wants your students to learn something different, then you want to make sure that your resources are vast enough for you to incorporate the goal of increasing the diversity in the classroom. So what you need to do is make sure that you have resources that vary. That's the types of music that you want the kids to have access to in the classroom, the types of toys you want them to have. It's always good to have toys from different cultures or toys that students may have never even seen, right? I find it funny when you bring an abacus into a classroom and the kids are like, "What in the hey?" Not realizing that even though a abacus is not a toy, it's a way for them to count. Um, so you want to make sure that the movies that you're showing to the kids are diverse. Another activity you may want to do is observe holidays from around the world. If you have a diverse classroom, it might be good to have the kids explore the holidays that are coming up on the calendar, and then you have a celebration. You have an opportunity for them to try foods from those cultures. They may celebrate Ramadan, or they may celebrate the Festival of Lights, Chinese New Year, Diwali, the Day of the Dead. Those are just some cultural activities that you can incorporate in your classroom that students may have never been exposed to, beyond our traditional holidays of Easter and Christmas and Fourth of July and Memorial Day, where we sit around and eat our traditional American meals. Host a world music dance party in your classroom. If your students are from different countries or families are from different countries, it might be a great opportunity to host a world music dance party. I know in classrooms, I've seen teachers allow the kids to choose the type of music that they want to listen to. It can be opera, it could be Hispanic music, it could be Italian music, it can be hip hop. It could be, any of those genres that the kids have never heard or they've not, so think outside the box. Classroom collages are also a great opportunity for kids to show you who they are, because what they do is they take pictures from their families and they put them into a collage format, and then they tell their stories in front of the classmates. So it's always interesting to see kids talk about, their families. They get to interview their family. They get to interview their grandparents. They get to interview their parents and ask them about their backgrounds. And then a cultural dress show and tell. You may have a Native American in your classroom. You may have a student from Africa. You may have a student from Mexico. You may have a student that is Jewish. You may have a student that is Hmong. And so it's always or Muslim, so that they may want to talk about why they wear a headdress. So those are opportunities for teachers and educators to really get to know their students, because when you know your students, it's so much easier for you to create curriculums that matter to them. So then let's look at internet resources that provide professional development and give you cool activities. So here are three resources that I think are phenomenal. The Iris Center, which is a program that Vanderbilt um, created, allows teachers to go in and see activities, multicultural awareness programs, build your personal development around cultural diversity. EdChange is a cool website to look at. What EdChange does is it looks at the ability for teachers or educators to develop a better understanding of multicultural awareness. And so you'll go to that website, and at the top, you'll see it says Critical Multicultural Pavilion Awareness Activities. And so, for the most part, all of these resources are wanting you as an educator to improve your outcomes with children, especially children who have diverse backgrounds. And we have to also incorporate our students who are disabled. And so you want to make sure that these things are happening. And then I give you the resource called Awesome Library. When you look at Awesome Library, this website lists activities that are holistically related to multicultural awareness. And so you can go through all three of these websites and you can find so many activities and resources that can benefit you individually and in the classroom. So if you have some time, I want you to make sure that you click the links, go on the pages, and see how they've created the resources for you. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's okay to go and find things that help you be better in the classroom. So what I've done on this page is I've given you access to resources that you can utilize in your classroom. As I mentioned in the previous slide, it's always good to be aware of the holidays that students in particular deal with and celebrate. And so I've given you two links to activities that you can do for students if you're teaching them about the Jewish faith. Also, I gave you access to an activity page for an additional holiday. Um, and then I gave you a link to Monster, which you can check the facts on particular religions, faiths. And so that's a link that you can use to create activities and create lesson plans that will give you true information about a student's culture, so that you, one, um, are not ignoring a child's faith or background, and then that you're exposing them to the appropriate and correct information for a child's background. And then I gave you this link for diversity activities and resources guide. This guide is a 160-page PDF that gives you all kinds of activities that you can utilize in the classroom. There's icebreakers, there's information on self-awareness, there's information on capacity building for community. Um, it's a whole package. And so what you want to do is, personally, I've downloaded this so that I have activities. I was very impressed by the things that are in it, and the curriculum that you can create from it. So please make sure that you take a look at the diversity activity resource PDF. I think that's link number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. And then Penn State has an extension program where they want their educators to have access to curriculum and activities that help you teach diversity in the classroom. This is a fabulous link because what it does is it focuses on early childhood professionals, school age professionals. If people are in child care environments, it provides family resources, coaching resources. If you're a director of a early childhood facility, they want you to be able to have access to different activities while you're teaching young children about diversity. One of the activities that I want to explain, they do in here, and it says, when do children notice differences between people? Well, they start to notice differences about people at the age of 2. And children begin to notice gender and racial differences at 2.5. And so Penn State's extension really wants us as educators to know that when children reach 3, around the age of 3, they notice physical disabilities. And when they're 4 or 5, they start to display gender appropriate behaviors and become fearful or of differences. And so we have to be very careful of what curriculum we're putting in the classroom. And so one of the activities they give is called the skin color matchup. And it helps children learn about different skin tones and ethnic backgrounds. And what you need is nylon knee-high stockings, and you can get them at the Dollar Tree. Get them at the Dollar Tree, and there's shades of tan, black, white, pink, yellow, and red. And what you do is you encourage the children to try the nylons on their hands and arms and feet, and then you ask them questions to help the children increase their awareness of skin color. Can you find a stocking that is the same color as your skin? And then have the children try another color and ask them, is this lighter or darker than your own skin color? And so to ignore it doesn't make it go away. They talk about another, of course, the diversity bingo is one that they talk about. Diversity dress up is one. Then they do an activity called Hair Everywhere. It helps children learn about different hair types related to ethnic groups. I don't know how many times, a child, I'll use an African American child, for example, comes in and they may have their hair natural, and somebody wants to, oh, your hair is so nice, and they want to touch it. Or you have a little white girl whose hair is curly, and somebody wants to, touch it. And so kids are very fascinated with hair. And so what you need are photographs of different hairstyles and types and hair care products. And what you do is you ask the children to identify the different types of hair by talking about hair texture and the curls. Some people have fine or thin hair, while others have thick and coarse hair. And some people have straight hair. And so you want to discuss how to take care of those types of hair and all of those kinds of things because, children do that. And so as you are thinking of activities, you want to make sure also that you could change your books in your classroom. We talked about that in a previous link. You can use the story Sneetches by Dr. Seuss to talk about the whole concept of superiority, right? That star, how many stars do you have on your belly? The Color of Us by Karen Katz. Why Am I Different? Norma Simon. And It's Okay to Be Different by Todd Parr. So those are just some books that they recommend you have in your library in your classroom. And so these resources that I'm sharing with you allow you to be a better educator for the students that you are serving. And so I want to make sure that I give you access to resources that I think are beneficial to your classroom structure. So we've talked about the importance of diversity, inclusion in the classrooms, curriculum, and the importance of educators having what they need in order to have a culturally diverse classroom and curriculum. And so on this page, what I offer is examples of what a multicultural bingo card would look like. You can create this on your own. You can get them off the internet. And so you look at the questions that they ask you. How does your culture define success? What is the value or belief that is important to your culture? How do you define family? What do you feel is the most important thing about your culture? How is physical contact viewed in your culture? How do people greet each other in your culture? Describe a family tradition. I love this, the posters, posting things around your room. In this classroom, you matter. You are loved. You are so worthy. You are important. You are respected. You can get that off of Amazon. Five Lessons in Life from Dr. Seuss. One, today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you, right? You'll see the image of the pictures of the kids. All they did was take plates, right? Color the plates. And then they use yarn to create their hair. They use buttons to create their eyes or markers. Um, and then they talk about what they like. I love snuggling with my mom. I have two brothers, or my favorite stuffy is Caroline, and I have a big sister. And so you get to learn about your students when you give them creative ways to express themselves. And then the young girl in the top, the little girl in the top, that's a book that they created where they look at the different holidays, people to know, that's a great activity to do. Have the kids create their own book and put in the things that they learn about different cultures. And then you'll see an example appear of a teacher who is talking about the first grade diversity lesson plan, and the date that they're going to be talking about it, the book that they're going to be using to talk about diversity, and what day um, the book was published and the grade level is for. And so the parents actually see that the teacher is starting a curriculum book on something that's diverse. On the next page and the final page, you'll see a collage, a diversity collage. And the kids can work on this together as a classroom unit, or they can work on it individually. And so you can offer the kids poster boards, let them take them home, let them explore on the internet, and then let them create the things that they view as diversity. Or, as I said, you can have the kids do it in the classroom. And so the bottom line is this, is that as an educator, you want to make sure that you are creating a classroom that is culturally diverse, culturally sensitive, and that your curriculum matches up, your resources matches up, and the students have the freedom and flexibility to be who they are, and you get to be who you are as you are creating a curriculum. And so, hopefully, at the end of the day, you can take some of these activities, you can take some of these links, and you can start to utilize them in your classroom. Um, and so, thank you for listening.